We do want her face out there. We want people to know that we are still searching for her. We have not stopped looking for Kandi since the day she went missing.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hey guys, it's April and welcome back to my channel. I've got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a minor in psychology, and I'm going to say that for the next 10 videos because I'm just so proud of myself. On top of that, I'm a board member for a nonprofit called Voices for the Silenced. We help missing people in mostly West Virginia and surrounding areas get the help they need in their searches for their missing loved ones. So if you are from West Virginia or the surrounding area, please get a hold of us and we'll do what we can. And we are here with another unsolved case in Kentucky. This person is thought to be tied to someone that we talk about in the Krista Garrett video, and there is an update on that person just in general that I didn't have the information for when I did Krista's video. I remember when this one was blowing up in the updates and all of that, and I actually had a client who told me all about this case. So hey Tammy, if you're watching, we would discuss this at lengths when I would see her, and I kept up with the Facebook page a lot over the years, and this family just honestly really needs answers. There's so many things in this case that just break my heart when I think about Kandi, and so many times that she could have truly been helped, and honestly she just wasn't. So we clearly have quite a bit to go over, so let's just get right in. Kandi Green Gonzalezt was 36 at the time of her disappearance. She was a white female with blonde hair, blue eyes, around 5'8", and around 110 pounds. She lived in Prestonsburg, Kentucky, and she had a mom named Betty Jo Dixon that I talked to a little bit on this case, and then she had a father named David Dixon. She does have a son also who was 5 years old at the time of her disappearance. Her and the dad shared custody. They were divorced. She was such an amazing mom when she was with her son, and she really just loved that child more than anything, more than life itself. She was known to just absolutely love people in general. The people that were around her just meant the most to her. She did end up going to the Lexington Healing Arts Academy and graduated in 2009. She did end up getting a certification for therapeutic massage and body work from here. So she's a massage therapist just like I am. And she ended up graduating from the Spesserian College in 2011 with a bachelor's in kinesiology. Now, to just go ahead and bring up the person that we talked about in Krista's case is that she was dating a man named Jeff Blackburn. I also want to point out everyone in this case is innocent until proven guilty by a court of law. This is all just for educational and conversational purposes. This is not to accuse anybody. It's not do anything like that. We are just trying to bring awareness to everything and details around Kandi Green Gonzalezt and her disappearance. Jeff had family that was linked in law enforcement. His father, John Blackburn, was the former sheriff of Floyd County, and he also was the president of the Kentucky Sheriff's Association until about 2013. He had gotten a DUI beforehand, but he did end up stepping down from the Kentucky Sheriff's Association because he did get into a little bit more trouble. He was arrested again, but he was let off on, quite a bit of a lighter sentence, probably because of who he was in society, right? And it is rumored, this was just talked about a lot, that he could have had a hand in the drug situation that was in this area. It's talked about on podcasts, YouTube videos, it's talked about. Now, Jeff did have a criminal history. He was arrested in 2013 for public intoxication. And then in 2017, I think he was arrested for pretty much selling drugs. And it was also talked about in a lot of different areas looking into Kandi's case that he was let off quite a bit because of who his dad was in society. He didn't really ever deal with a whole lot of consequences to his actions. There are multiple situations where he has talked about being a very aggressive person to literally anyone. I mean, it could be his women he was with. It could be friends. I mean, there was just a lot of instances people talked about how violent he was. He had even locked a woman in a hotel room for days, allegedly. She said that he had locked her in the bathroom and abused her this whole time. And then there was an ex that came forward that said Jeff was 100% abusive with her too. That he had beat her, that he had threatened to kill her. He wouldn't let her leave the house. She was able to get a hold of one of her friends to come over, and that friend brought someone else, and they came to get her from Jeff. When they got there, the police were already on their way to Jeff's house, and he was just like laughing. He could care less what was going on at this point, allegedly. And when the officers came, they just told him, like, dude, you have to let this girl go. And he was like, okay, she can leave. And she did end up leaving, but it was clear something was wrong with her. Something happened. Her shirt was all torn apart. There was an earring ripped out of her ear, and she did have a busted lip also. So when they were leaving, they literally just saw the police officers hanging out, laughing, just chilling out on Jeff's porch. Jeff was dating Kandi for about 2 years before her disappearance. So clearly, the abuse and how aggressive he was something people watched for in him and Kandi. And trust me, he was abusive to her too. And it was getting so bad that she was actually, before her disappearance, starting to let her family know what was happening. Now, this was shortly before she went missing, so there wasn't a whole lot of time to act on it for the family. And people do think that she wasn't 100% upfront with everything that had happened, but there were enough to ring alarm bells now. Now, it is rumored, and I think I talked about this in Krista's video, that when Kandi was moved into Jeff's house, he was technically still with Krista. Now, there's also people saying that he was still messaging other girls on Facebook too during this time. But they did end up living in a house together that was about a half a mile from Abbott Creek Road. Now, on May 8, 2021, Kandi and Jeff had gotten into a pretty heated argument. She ended up running outside because she just really wanted to cool off. Now, you've got to think, Jeff had a reputation around his neighbors as being a thief and just causing issues. So people did just kind of relate that to Kandi also, because I mean, she was with him. So when they saw Kandi just kind of like wandering around and just trying to cool off and do her thing, they ended up calling the police because they thought she was up to no good. And so what did the police do? They ended up arresting her. She was charged with speeding 15 miles over the speed limit, public intoxication with a controlled substance, and third-degree trespassing. Now, thankfully, the third-degree trespassing was only a misdemeanor, and it could mostly just be punished with fines, but she did end up serving 3 days in jail. And things just weren't going great with her and Jeff, right? And it just seemed to get worse for her. On June 1st, 2021, just, a month, not even a month later, Jeff ended up kicking her out of the house. From what I understand, Kandi had nothing on her, not her phone, not her wallet, nothing, just like her and her clothes. So she was just kind of wandering around. She didn't have the keys to her car. And a few men that were doing yard work saw Kandi just walking, trying to figure out what to do. They started taunting her, and then they just started following her. Now, they said they were trying to help her when they were following her, but I'm just going to be honest, their behavior just did not seem to be wanting to help her. It seemed to be wanting to continue to make her day worse. Now, around 4:30 p.m., she ended up kind of wandering on someone's property on Abbott Creek Road. She was wearing a pink romper and some sandals. Like I said, she had nothing on her. And like I said, she had nothing else on her. Now, it wasn't the property owner that came outside, but I think it was like the relative of the property owner came out and was like, "What are you doing here?" And she was asking her to please call her mom. She needed help. You could tell Kandi was very, very upset and just disoriented. And like, honestly, I just thought panicked. Like, you know how, like, you're not thinking right when your adrenaline's rushing and you're panicking? That's what it really seemed like to me. And I don't know if it was the owner of the property, but someone on the property did end up videoing all of this. And you can hear those boys that were doing yard work that followed her still making fun of her and saying things about her to her. And they were saying things like calling Kandi crazy and saying there was no point in even helping her.
I got it. Does she know there's a ring? Does she know that there's a ring watching her right now? There's a camera on the doorbell. We can see her. Where did she go? I'm coming. It's all right. Listen, I don't know where you're going, but you need to get out of this yard. Walk along the highway. Huh? Keiko can see her from the ring.
Oh, okay.
Keiko knows what's going on already. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what you're doing, but you need to
Call my mother.
call your mother. I will call your mother for you. Happily. Where's your mom? What is your name?
What?
First name. Listen, I have your daughter.
Is that a trail camera?
In my
Yeah.
yard.
What's she got? That's a trail camera. No, there's a trail camera on that tree right there. Hell, I thought that was some woman you had invited over to your house.
If you guys, listen, did you see me? Listen, we was on the moped.
Yeah, yeah.
We came back up.
Ethan said, "Help me!" That's the wildest shit I've ever seen. Get the fuck out of here, Ethan.
Listen, I need you to calm down. I can help you, but you need to tell me what's going on. I'll happily help you if you'll calm down and talk to me. Right, look that way. I'm calling your mom for you. What the hell?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I need you to get out of this yard or come talk to me. One of the two. Don't wow me. You are on our land. I need to understand why. I need you not to mess with their crops.
Okay, she's gonna get in the creek, boy.
Look here.
Hey, watch out, there's snakes down there.
What the actual fuck?
Well, I don't know why you tried to reason with her. She's clearly fucking crazy.
Call the police. Actually.
Now, the woman that was talking to Kandi, I think was named Charlene, and she did try to leave a voicemail for Kandi's mom. Like I said, Kandi didn't answer, so it had to go to voicemail, and this, thank God this woman did call and let Betty Jo know something was going on with Kandi. But again, this voicemail is like laughable at how little concern they showed Kandi when she was clearly distressed and really upset. I mean, just laughable how this woman handled it.
Listen, I have your daughter. She says she's your daughter in my yard. She's asked me to call you, but she's and Jess apparently has kicked her out. No, it's not fun. I thought that's what you were saying. Mom. Hey, Mom. It's voicemail, honey. Mommy. Oh, it's voicemail. That's why I was trying to just say. Wow.
And she fucking laughs. She laughs. She tells Kandi she's leaving a voicemail and it's not a phone call, because you can tell Kandi's like trying to grab the phone from her, because she was just like not being taken seriously at all. Like, you listen to this girl on this voicemail begging her mom for help, begging her for help, and you're laughing. So clearly, this upset Kandi even more, because she realizes she's not being taken seriously. She is in a seriously dangerous situation, and I think everyone who's been in an abusive situation, you know when you're going back, or if they find you, you are fucked. Like, excuse my language, but you're fucked. So she's like begging for help, right? Begging for help, trying to get a hold of her mom to come get her something. Like, she is just desperate, and she's getting laughed at, and she's not being taken seriously. And then you have these guys back here still making fun of her, calling her crazy. I could go on and on. I could go on and on about this situation. So you got to put Kandi in her situation. If she went to the main road, these boys were going to continue to follow her, right? Like, just continue to harass her, continue to make fun of her, and just honestly make her day a whole lot worse than it probably already was, right? She just got kicked out of her house. I believe that's why Kandi went back to the creek. She ran back to the creek and just took off because she wasn't getting any help here. She was probably feeling 20 times worse for herself after this whole interaction. But unfortunately, this is actually the last time we ever see Kandi alive. And her family did end up reporting Kandi missing the next day. Just the next day. And she was reported missing to the Kentucky State Police, Pikeville Post 9. So I was trying to ask Betty Jo about every search that I found that happened, because there was a lot of them that were talked about, but a lot of them that were done from like community family purposes, and they weren't all like documented from law enforcement. So if I get some of these wrong, I will definitely put a corrections down in the description box. Me and Betty Jo, we have some crazy busy lives, and so we just never found the time to sit down so I could really like go over every search I found. But no, this family for sure worked their asses off finding Kandi. So 2 days after she went missing, they went ahead and did a search in the area right around that creek. And they did end up finding Kandi's sandals. They called the police and said, hey, we found Kandi's shoes. Can you come out here? And they pretty much said, well, just go ahead and pick them up and take them home. And they were like, no. Like, what if this is evidence? What if there's something you need around this area? Clues? Like, can you please come out here and look at this? But the police waited 3 days. 3 days to come get these shoes. Unbelievable. For a long time, from what I understand, there were searches daily for Kandi. And I don't think that just meant just the family. There was organizations that came in to help. There were community searches. There was just a lot of hands-on that didn't necessarily have to do with law enforcement, but really wanting to work to find Kandi. From what I understand, they use things like helicopters, drones, cadaver dogs, four-wheelers. There was on-foot searches, and even like things like side-by-sides used. And they were even able to set up a water search in case, unfortunately, she had been submerged in water. Now, the Kentucky State Police did come out on June 5th and do a search, but it seemed to have only lasted about 45 minutes. That's right, 45 minutes. Now on June 9th, Fulton County Sheriff's Office came out and conducted a search. I'm almost positive that is not the county. I'm almost positive it's Floyd County, and theirs lasted about 6 hours. And from what I understand, they also continued to search over 2 weeks. And they also used kind of the same things: helicopters, drones, cadaver dogs, tracking methods, and they also were asking the public to please search your homes, outbuildings, sheds, anything like that, in case she would have been able to like get into one to stay warm, get out of the sun, and during the day, and things like that, shelter. And like I said, different search and rescue teams came in to help aid in searching too. And one of the organizations I saw that covered Kandi was the Brother Underwater Recovery. Now, after a few searches, she was tracked to be going over a mountainside and like over the hill. And there seemed to be footprints that led back to her house, but they stopped like on the other side of the street. And after this was found out, family did do quite a bit of other searches. Sometimes law enforcement showed up, sometimes it didn't. So it was kind of like hit and miss. But the family, like I said, did a ton of searching on their own. Now, on June 11th, law enforcement said that Kandi did not meet the requirements to use search dogs, I guess, any longer since they had already been brought in. They also then said that emergency management did not want to assist any further in the search for Kandi. And like I said, they just found other organizations, search and rescue groups to use dogs in this case, but like, I would have loved for them to elaborate on what requirements she didn't meet. But whatever. Now, the problem with these search and rescue groups, though, I've worked with one of them fairly closely. You have to have permission from law enforcement to come let them search those areas. So it really depended on how the law enforcement felt that day on whether they were going to let these search and rescue groups come out and use their dogs in these searches for Kandi. After 10 days after Kandi went missing, Jeff Blackburn finally decided to show his face at any of these searches. You kicked this girl out of her house and she goes missing afterwards, and it takes you 10 days to show up. So he showed up at a search and he asked for some flyers so he could hand them out. And pretty much Kandi's family just asked him to leave, which I don't even blame them. 10 days? You kick this girl out of her house and she goes missing and you just want to hand out some flyers. And also at this time, the family was really starting to realize how abusive Jeff was in this situation. So their feelings were a little touchy when it came to Jeff also. And Jeff did end up saying he didn't want to help in the searches earlier because he was scared someone was going to do something to him. Why in the world would that cross your mind when your girlfriend is missing after you kick her out of your house? Why would someone want to do something to you? So the police waited 2 weeks after Kandi went missing to announce that they were going to do a large-scale search on June 20th for her. I also just want to preface, the most important time in a missing person case is the first 48 hours. Technically, the first 24 hours. You waited 2 weeks, and you're not even doing the search that day. You're still waiting another week to do the search. One of the search teams also noticed that her scent went over that mountainside and over the hill, but they noticed that there was almost like clawing marks into the mountainside. But there was really nothing they found after that, but it was clear she was trying really hard to climb up that mountain. Now, when the investigation started, law enforcement did say they would ask neighbors in the community about Kandi. There had been no sightings of Kandi, no social media activity, no bank activity, and absolutely no phone activity. Now, Kandi had no record of any type of mental health issues, and there was no documented proof that she had a drug abuse problem either. There are rumors she was using with Jeff, but we just really aren't sure, so I don't want to put that out there. But we aren't really sure if there was addiction problems, so I just want to preface that. Jeff did actually agree to doing a polygraph test on July 6th, over a month since she went missing. So Jeff just never showed up to take it, and law enforcement had to try to find him, and they just could not find Jeff that day. Law enforcement tried to reach out to Jeff 6 times to take this polygraph test. 6 times, but they could not get a hold of him. Now, Jeff said that he was at his mom's house and he just didn't realize that was the day the polygraph was scheduled for. This polygraph was scheduled weeks in advance to make sure Jeff was free for it, by the way, so that excuse is ridiculous. Jeff then hired a lawyer and refused to take the polygraph test altogether. He ended up saying, well, everyone thinks I'm guilty anyway, so why would I go ahead and take it? Yeah, that's weird, right? First of all, I don't believe in polygraph tests. I mean, they can't even be used in court, but at the same time, why, if you have nothing to hide, would you not just take it? He also started telling people that Kandi didn't live with him anymore. And people did. They thought this was weird. Why are you telling people right now Kandi no longer lives with you? She no longer lives with you because you got in a fight and then she went missing afterwards. Yeah, I mean, he did kick her out, so I guess technically she didn't live with him anymore, but she went missing hours after you kicked her out. That's just weird. Especially because Kandi's phone and purse were found in Jeff's truck. But Kandi's phone was locked, so nobody could get into it. The family has been less than impressed with how the investigation has gone. They just said that the local law enforcement just does not seem interested at all, and that there was just really not much they have done. The family did end up going to media platforms to really try to get their story out about Kandi, and they really pressed that there is no way she would have left her son like this. They did do an interview on Mountaintop News.
After 89 days, the search for 36-year-old Kandi Green Gonzalezt continues. Saturday, we spoke with Sue Abbott about their efforts.
We have probably covered around 2,500 acres in Floyd County since we started looking for her. We are still conducting all of the searches. KSP is still handling the investigative side to, try to get the information on where she could possibly be.
And this is where they released the voicemail that Charlene and Kandi left for Betty Jo. You listen to this and you know Kandi is completely upset and distressed in this, right? Kentucky Gone Cold has also covered Kandi's case. Multiple YouTubers have. And this case really did just kind of blow up on social media. Like I said, I followed the Facebook group. There were updates all the time on social media, especially Facebook. I mean, her face seemed to be everywhere in Appalachia there for a minute, right? They were able to raise $10,000 for a reward for any information for Kandi and bringing her home. The family does say that they were absolutely so grateful for Johnson County, the county next to them. Their law enforcement really came in and helped in a lot of searches for Kandi and just a lot of police work that needed to be done. They could count on them for Kandi. And the family has said Floyd County has done next to nothing, but thank God for Johnson County, right? And they did try to reach out to the FBI, but the FBI just said there's just not enough evidence for them to really do anything with. And of course, you have to be invited in by Floyd County. So it's I'm sure they're not going to be like, oh yeah, come on in and see how little we have done. Not happening. Jeff's family did end up threatening Kandi's family and saying they were going to release information about Kandi, but this didn't really seem to rock the family because they're like, wait, you have information? Can we have it? And there was nothing ever really done about this from what they claim. But what's interesting is after this, there was a picture released of Kandi's criminal record. It was really weird. It was like you're taking a picture while you're holding the paper and there's a steering wheel in the back. But what people talked about was that these records would have needed requested or have access to the records to be able to print them out. So it would almost have to be someone in this type of field that could release this, print this out, and leak it, because it just was not able to be accessed easily by the public. So yeah, you put two and two together. Now there was two narratives trying to run with this leak. The first one was they were trying to say Kandi was hiding from the police, but I mean, you heard these records. She served 3 days. The other big one, the trespassing, was a misdemeanor and usually just fines. So it really just didn't make sense on why she would be running from the police. But then the narrative also ran that the police had every reason to treat her case like this. Look, she was a criminal. So if you're in Floyd County and you've ever been arrested, pray to God you never go missing. Now there even were complete tools that would call Betty Jo and tell them that they needed $5,000 ransom for Kandi. But what's crazy is they had a $10,000 reward for any information on Kandi. Just give her Kandi or whatever information you have on her and you can have a $10,000 reward. Why are you trying to get a $5,000 ransom? No sense. Now when this case started really really blowing up, and the voicemail was released. The family that Kandi had went on their property decided to release a statement. The statement's a little long, but I do think it's important for the whole context of the story. Out of respect for the family of Miss Gonzalezt, my wife and I refrained from posting anything concerning the efforts to find Miss Gonzalezt. However, the rhetoric on social media has escalated to a point that we must respond. In an attempt to disabuse everyone to the misinformation that has been circulated, we are going to make this sole statement. First, my wife and I have never spoken to, seen, or before this even knew of Miss Gonzalezt. Second, with hopes that she would be found, we allowed everything free access to the property in the days following her disappearance. Unfortunately, that access is denied because abused by a constant flow of strangers rifling through our property, including our mailbox barn, vehicles, even our guest house. To date, not a single person has contacted us to request permission to access our property. After personal items became missing and posts on social media became concerning, we regrettably were forced to restrict access to only those accompanied or verified by law enforcement. It would be naive and dangerous of us to assume that everyone enforcing our property unannounced is there with good intentions. Our understanding of the events leading up to Miss Gonzalez's disappearance are the following. Our sister-in-law was at our residence assisting a visiting disabled family member to lead their car when a couple of teenage boys pulled into our driveway. The boys stated they were landscaping at another home on Abbott Creek when an agitated Miss Gonzalezt walked into the yard where they were watching. The young men stated they tried to approach her to see if she needed help. Multiple times she walked away and circled back into the yard before walking off down the main road of Abbott Creek. The young men decided to drive ahead to see if they could help her. As they approached our address, they saw adults in the driveway and stopped to inform them of the situation. That's when Miss Gonzalezt entered our front yard, spoke to no one, and continued through our gate to the backyard. The next few moments were somewhat chaotic, but Miss Gonzalezt was approached by our sister-in-law and was offered help. We have seen the video of the exchange, and it is unfortunate that Miss Gonzalezt did not remain on our property and wait for additional attempts to phone her mother. After Miss Gonzalezt exited the property, the police were notified in another attempt to help Miss Gonzalezt. The video is just a snapshot of what happened. As for the heated talk and threatening posts on social media concerning our property and the no trespassing signs, our family has over 100 years of law enforcement history, and we have made every effort to help authorities find Miss Gonzalezt. We have prayed for and continue to pray for her safe return. Anyone wishing access to our property with a weapon and use force, I can only offer this advice. Find another way to help the Gonzalezt family. Whoever was going on this property and taking advantage of the situation so you could steal or damage or vandalize or whatever was happening to their property, I'm giving you the biggest FU, because this property is seriously important to the investigation, right? This was the last place that Kandi was known to be seen at, and this is unfortunate. Those people didn't deserve to be treated that way, especially if they truly were giving full access to anybody who wanted to search. Second, if those boys were acting to Kandi the way that they were acting in that video, no wonder Kandi did not want their help.
Hell, I thought that was some woman you had knotted over your house.
If you guys, Felicia, did you see me? We was out the road.
Yeah.
We came back up.
Ethan said, "Help me!" That's the wildest shit I've ever seen. Get the fuck out of here, Ethan.
Hey, watch out, there's snakes down there.
What the heck is up?
Well, I don't know why you tried to reason with her. She's clearly fucking crazy.
And yeah, she probably did seem agitated, because I get a little agitated when teenage boys are acting a fucking fool around and I'm kind of like trying to deal with something. Like, I mean, it just is what it is, right? I'm sure because we are seeing how they're acting in the video, they were not letting up. So yeah, they could have been asking her for help at first, but if you're already harassing her and then asking her for help, Why would she accept, and why would she not seem agitated and try to be walking away from you? And then to drive ahead of her just to tell their own version of the story to the adults that she was clearly headed towards. Come on. Like, come on. Has anybody ever been around a teenager? And if they were trying to help, why would they still be calling her crazy, saying there's no reason to help her, and all the things they were saying in the video after they ran and supposedly told these adults about the situation and how she needs help? And I know those teenage boys are probably adults now. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. No wonder she ran off this property. No wonder. And here's another thing. I'm trying to give all the grace in the world to this family that owns this property. But first of all, if you're sitting here having an emotional breakdown because you're telling someone, I'm just been kicked out of my house, I need my mom, I need help, and they're laughing.
And Jeff apparently has kicked her out. No, it's not fun. I thought that's what you were saying, Mom.
I'm probably not going to feel safe to stay there either. Acting like your sister-in-law, I think it is, didn't do anything to make her feel like, yeah, I'm not safe here. I am not being taken seriously. I need to find someone who's going to help me.
Listen, I don't know where you're going, but you need to get out of this yard. Walk along the highway. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what you're doing, but you need to call my mother. Call your mother? I will call your mother for you. Happily. Where's your mom?
Listen, I need you to calm down. I can help you, but you need to tell me what's going on. I'll happily help you if you'll calm down and talk to me. Right, look that way. I'm calling your mom for you. What the hell? I need you to get out of this yard or come talk to me. One of the two. You are on our land. I need to understand why. I need you not to mess with their crop. What the heck is up?
Why would she think that you guys were going to continue to help her when she's literally being laughed at, and you can pretty much hear her clawing the phone out of Charlene, is that her name? Charlene's hands to try to get a hold of her mom. She's scared.
Mom. Hey, Mom. It's voicemail, honey. Mommy. Oh, it's voicemail. That's why I was trying to just say.
And you have these teenage boys harassing her. You have this woman laughing in her face trying to tell her mom the story on a voicemail. Why would she feel safe to stay there? Earlier in the statement, they say, I'm pretty sure, let me look real quick. To date, not a single person has contacted us to request permission to access our property. So no law enforcement has ever contacted you to access your property? How has no law enforcement ever talked to them about accessing their property when there's video footage of the way Kandi left out of that property, and that Kandi was there on the property, but that she left that way? But then you say later in the statement, even though police have never contacted you, you said no one has ever contacted you to access to your property. You're then saying we're only going to let people on the property who are verified from the police. The police that don't give a shit? The police that don't think your property is that important to begin with? I mean, I totally get where they're coming from. This is probably nitpicky, but like, I get they just can't let random strangers on there anymore, especially if they've been having bad things happen, right? So October that year, Jeff was arrested. He had went to a neighbor's home crying, talking about Kandi, and so it was kind of like a guilty conscience type thing. He said he was looking for her, but then like he went into the house and just like refused to leave. So they called the police, and the police did come, and they found a pocket knife on Jeff. So they were able to charge him with burglary. But here he is, still using Kandi to try to break into this person's house. There would have had to have been some type of intent for them to even charge him with this, right? On April 27th, 2022, some loggers did find bones on the left fork of Abbott, I think is where it was. And it was just over the mountain of where she was last seen. A logger did also find a skull nearby. So June 28th, 2022, Floyd County did end up alerting Kandi's family that these remains were in fact Kandi Green Gonzalezt. The cause of death is unknown based on the remains. I mean, there just honestly wasn't much to go on since they were just bones, but they did say that whatever happened to her did seem to happen shortly after she went missing. The family did end up confirming on Facebook, I'm almost positive in their Facebook group, that this was Kandi, and they did ask for privacy at that time to just deal with what was found and starting their grieving process of knowing she was actually gone at this point. And I do think they always kind of knew that was the possibility and probably what was going on, but I'm sure like actually hearing it is so hard, because you do have just that little glimmer of hope that if there's no body, then they could be somewhere out there still alive. Unfortunately, a lot of people do believe that this was probably a domestic violence situation, and Jeff's dad supposedly, allegedly, I have no idea if this is true or not, covered up the domestic violence based on his police background. Why else would Floyd County be completely so hands-off in this case? Now, I did ask Betty Jo if the police are actively investigating, and she says it does not seem so, that she has gotten no updates hardly at all through any of this, but especially lately there's been absolutely no activity done at all in this case, which is just so sad. Her son, which I've chosen to leave his name out because people are weird on the internet. They'll like try to find him and stuff. He struggled early on, you know, he really wanted his mom, and he would always see like a blonde lady and think it was her. And I mean, he had a hard time. From what I understand, he might be doing a little better now, but I'm sure he's still a kid, right? Like he's still, let's see, I mean, he'd be like 9, 10. That's still a baby. But in an update that I didn't have for the Krista video, I don't know how I missed this, but Jeff ended up overdosing on December 20th, 2024. And this was just 3 days after Kandi's birthday. So we might never see justice really for Kandi and possibly Krista if this guy is now passed away. I'm sure, you know, everyone sees all over the internet, on media and things like that. He was heavily thought to be involved by the public's eye in both. It's devastating, but obviously something was eating at him too. I kind of hate it for the family because a lot of the times if people do think someone's involved like that, once they die, the case dies with it. They never, it's unfortunate because the family still deserves to know if he did it or not. Either way, they deserve to know. So if you do have any tips in this case, you can contact the Kentucky State Police at 606-433-7711, or you can get a hold of the Facebook page, which I'll put on the screen, or you can email me at unsolvednwv@gmail.com. But thank you guys so much for watching. I've loved kind of diving into Kentucky now. But yeah, so thank you for coming along on the journey. And anybody that's coming here because I'm covering the Kentucky content, welcome. I hope you stick around. And thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe for me, and hit that notification button. That way you're notified the next time I upload. Remember, I have my Facebook page. I know it says Unsolved in West Virginia. I'll fix that. I'm trying to get up to 250 likes on that page, so please go help me out. I try to put a lot of like updates over there. I post a lot of like missing person, just like posts with the pictures to share. I try to share all the like crime world updates on that page, so go follow that. Do your thing, right? I also have an Instagram page that I'm trying to grow and be more consistent on. I go through spurts and then I just die off for a little bit. But thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.